Are these 20 million acres of land really cursed?
Is it true that spectral hands reach up from a whirlpool, grabbing passersby?
Who walks the rusty catwalk of this forgotten, dilapidated structure?
Find out the answers to these questions and more as we uncover the dark hauntings and history from Hales Bar Marina and Dam in Guild, Tennessee.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Erica.
And this is The Haunted Atlas, a Haunted U.S. podcast.
In the interest of fully exploring history of certain locations, The Haunted Atlas may discuss sensitive or disturbing topics. Listener discretion is advised.
A rusted relic of forgotten times, the Hales Bar Marina and Dam now sits as part of a lively resort. With a history of failed repair attempts and many casualties, it is no surprise that this location has earned a reputation as one of Tennessee's most haunted places. Our history actually begins before the dam itself. In 1775, the Treaty of Sycamore Shoals was signed. And in this treaty, the Transylvania Company received 20 million acres of land from local Native American tribes.
At one time, or did they kind of garner over time?
No, that's a one-time treaty to get all of this land.
Oh my gosh.
And what's really interesting is it's 1775, so it's before the Declaration of Independence.
Oh.
And it's important to note that not all of the chiefs in the area agreed with this treaty. So it was a group effort, we'll say, but not everyone fully agreed that they should be giving up all of this land.
Well, yeah, I think that makes sense, right? Of course, you're going to have people who disagree with the full thing. I'm hoping at least, though, there were compromises made and it wasn't just, hey, we're going to take land from you anyways, too bad.
The documented history of it is just that some of the chiefs dissented. So that's all that we know for sure. Fast forward over 100 years later. So now we're in the late 1890s, and that's when the initial designs for this dam were drawn up. The goal was to flood the Tennessee River Gorge to allow safe passage through that section of the river. And additionally, the dam would provide hydroelectric power to the nearby area, so it would be a win-win. In 1905, construction started on the dam, and there was a target of completion of 1909, so they only gave themselves 4 years to get this done.
Which is not a lot of time, especially back then.
Right, especially for something of this scale.
Yeah.
Things took longer than expected, and by 1910, the only pieces that were actually finished were the lock and the powerhouse. So they had a lot of work left to do.
I'm surprised, really, that only that much was done then.
Yeah, I think it's just because it requires so much manpower to get this done.
Right. And, at first it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they only have 4 years. And then I was thinking okay, if you only have 4 years, maybe people would try to rush and get it done. So I guess overall, probably a good thing that they didn't do that just because of the time pressures and really did build something solid. Or maybe not, based on your face.
Let's find out. The actual dam itself was not finished until 1913, so an additional 3 years.
7 years feels more normal to finish a dam.
I have no barometer for how long it takes to build a dam.
I don't know why. I feel it in my bones that 7 years seems more normal than 4.
Well, it should take a substantial amount of time.
Yes.
Just 6 years after the completion of the dam, there were enough problems that engineers had to make major repairs. So it seems like they did not take their time sufficiently. And they used whatever they could find at this time. It was 1919. Some of the materials used included old mattresses.
How on earth would a mattress help in a dam?
To help stop any leaks. They just were taking whatever they could get.
Yeah.
It's no surprise that did not hold up very long.
Well, yeah, mattresses can get soaked.
Right, and they used other scrap material that they could find.
Right.
But the point is they weren't doing it the right way the first time.
Right.
In 1931, the dam was assessed for leakage and showed that it leaked 1,000 cubic feet of water per second.
Second?
Yeah. And to put it in perspective, 1,000 cubic feet of water per second is 7,200 gallons per second. That's about 3 school buses full of water.
So they really did a bad job.
Right. And at this point, the dam has been around for a while now.
Yeah.
Almost 20 years. In 1939, the Tennessee Valley Authority took over the dam in an attempt to repair it correctly. Hopefully getting in here, doing what needs to be done, and then this dam can function.
See, I do not have high hopes. I do not. Because the TVA had all of those controversies. which I was like looking into.
Really? I'm not familiar with them, actually.
Oh, yeah. It was like they always had some like political or like social controversy that they were focused on. So like the two heads, there was like a chairman, I think, and one of the founders butted heads so much that articles were written about it, or like cartoons were placed in newspapers about it.
I didn't realize that things got so political for them.
Yeah. And then also like some of the work that they did in the beginning of their time was like displacing families, and they didn't really do it in a very helpful way or like effective way. So that was also a huge controversy. So yeah, I do not have high hopes.
That's interesting because I thought, okay, they're coming in and they're going to fix this all.
Well, you would think because, okay, so it started with Teddy Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this has to be like huge. Like Teddy Roosevelt's just doing this like weird small thing in Tennessee. Like these guys must be great. But nope.
You are correct. The intervention was not as successful as everyone had hoped. It took them 4 full years to make repairs to actually stop the leakage. So it did take time, but they were able to completely stop the leakage at that time.
Well, that's good.
Key is at that time. It worked for a while, but by the late 1950s, the dam was leaking yet again, and this time the rate was double. It was 2,000 cubic feet per second. We talked about 1,000 cubic feet per second being 7,200 gallons. So now we're almost at 15,000 gallons per second, and that's almost a whole pool leaking every single second.
Which, okay, that makes sense that it would get worse. Like as it's getting worse, in quotation marks, it's getting worse.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because of course the foundation's still the same, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you strip every single thing out and fix it, you're going to have these issues.
Right.
With these increases in leakage, obviously leaking a swimming pool every second is significant. The dam was further inspected, and it was identified that it was so weak that it was set to collapse at any moment.
Well, that's terrifying. At this point, right, there's a town, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and it's on the Tennessee River.
Right.
So there are implications. Additionally, because it is generating some hydroelectric power. So there are a lot of implications if this was to just collapse. In 1963, an effort was launched to build a completely new dam, which in my opinion, they should have done from the start.
I agree.
The Nickajack Dam. The Nickajack Dam was completed in 1967 and ended operations at the Hales Bar Dam. By 1968, most of the essential materials were moved to the Nickajack Dam, and the Hales Bar Dam was mostly demolished.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, I'm glad that they finally took care of it. And, you know, if there were any parts that they could use, that's great. But I'm not surprised at all that most of it was just gone.
I mean, in its roughly 55 years of operation, it had so many problems.
Which is kind of crazy because I'm assuming dams are built to be like around for much longer than 55 years.
Well, think of the Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
That's been around forever.
Exactly.
The remains of the dam sat, and today it's actually part of the Hales Bar Marina and Resort, which is really interesting.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, the old powerhouse actually sits between boat slips on one side and floating cabins on the other.
Ooh, floating cabins.
Yeah, it's literally what it sounds like. So it's almost like the bottom of a pontoon boat, if you've seen that, underneath a cabin, and you can rent and stay in them.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so you're actually physically on the water,
Yeah.
and you could just jump off your deck area.
See, as long as it's close to land, I'm okay. I could not do a cruise where I was in the middle of nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if I'm near land, that sounds just like a cool experience.
Yeah, they are. They're tied to land. So you enter the floating cabins through land, and then the other side opens up into the water.
Which makes sense, right? Like we can't have the cabins floating away.
Yeah, it's just chaos.
Yeah.
You have to find the cabin first if you want to stay there. Visitors can't tour the historical part of the dam anymore, but you can still view it as part of the visit to the resort. And a visit to the old dam offers a chance at historical insight, but also may offer an interaction with ghosts.
Hey everyone, Brandon here from Haunted US with a few announcements. One huge thank you from myself and the team. As we launched our first book, 30 Haunted Nights in Wisconsin yesterday, and we hit #1 in recent releases in our category on Amazon. We appreciate everyone who is helping make 30 Haunted Nights a success. We'd also love to hear what you think about it. Make sure to leave a review if you're so inclined. Coming up this Thursday on HauntedUS.com, we'll be exploring the hauntings of the William G. LeDuc Mansion in Hastings, Minnesota. where the footsteps of the building's namesake can still be heard patrolling the house's long hallways. Then, next Thursday, get ready for a classic, the Lyceum Hall in Salem, Massachusetts. Now rebranded as Turner's Seafood Restaurant, paranormal claims of a poltergeist spirit in the building can trace themselves back over a century. Both Leduc Mansion and Lyceum Hall will be available on hauntedus.com, and don't forget to get your copy of 30 Haunted Nights in Wisconsin. Now let's get back to the Haunted Atlas team and hear about the haunted history of Hales Bar Dam.
The paranormal claims of the Hales Bar Marina and Dam include everything from curses to ghosts.
Curses?
Yes.
I'm excited to hear about this.
If you think back to the 1775 Treaty of Sycamore Shoal, you might remember not everybody was on board with this treaty. It's rumored that there was one chief who was so angry about this, they cursed the land to be bloodied if it was ever settled.
That's really intense.
For 20 million acres? Yes. And for that to be an all-time curse, that's bound to be settled.
Yeah, and I think that makes me kind of sad because then it's like, okay, so no, they didn't compromise.
Yeah, certainly upset to curse the land for all time.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, we know some people were okay with it and some people weren't. There's a lot of controversy with the treaties with Native Americans at this time. The dam was built on a portion of this land, and the curse seems to ring true because from 1905 to 1913, so that's just in the building period of the dam, there were reports of hundreds of workers dying.
Hundreds?
Yep. I mean, they didn't have OSHA back then, so,
Right.
But hundreds in just 8 years is quite a lot.
Yeah, that's really crazy, I think. I mean, again, you're right. They didn't have the regulations or whatever, but come on, hundreds of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at 50, you'd think they'd be like, hey, maybe we should be more careful. Maybe we should implement some things.
Well, they were leaking 3 buses worth of water
That's
and
fair.
thought, it's fine. So they might not have been the most reflective on this.
Right.
Those deaths during the building period were not the only deaths. Because there was such chronic leakage, that also proved fatal. Several children allegedly died while walking through a tunnel on their way to school due to an unexpected rushing water that filled the tunnel.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yes.
That's really sad.
And you can imagine, like you said, there's towns, there's people that are interacting with this area. Even the fact that it's on the river, what if you're just going there for a swim? It must have really caused fear in the community knowing that it was so unstable.
Well, right. And imagine if your house is, however close to this dam and you find out that it could collapse at any point, like towards the end, that's terrifying.
Right. What are you going to do?
Right.
How are you going to sell that house? Additionally, as the leaks worsened, they would flood local areas. So, of course, we're talking displacing people, things like that. But to make it creepier, there were sometimes cemeteries that were flooded. In 1960, they did an assessment of the area, and some cemeteries were considered permanently flooded.
How, just like all of the underground graves were permanently flooded?
Yeah, because the water level would get so high. If you think of the quantity of water that's leaking through, it would pool in these areas, so it's almost like it creates a new pond.
Oh, that is really creepy.
So for some of them, you could still see the grave markers,
Yeah.
but you couldn't see the actual graves themselves. Very creepy.
Yes.
So given all these deaths, given the flooded cemeteries, it's not hard to believe that visitors report strange happenings here. One common report is seeing shadow figures in the powerhouse. And remember, this is still part of the resort. It is situated between the floating cabins and the boat launch. But there's one distinct figure that's said to pace the catwalks in this building. What's interesting is the catwalk can only be seen from inside the building.
Okay.
So you would have to have staff or someone in there that's seeing these shadow figures. Further, because the dam is closed, you would know if someone else was supposed to be in there with you. So there's not really a chance that it's just someone walking.
Here's a question. From the catwalk, can you see into the dam?
Yeah, because it's up above it.
I'm wondering if that's like a supervisor or something. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of walking on the catwalk, keeping an eye on everybody if it's pacing back and forth.
That could be. It could definitely be a supervisor, especially with a guilty conscience, maybe,
Yeah.
from all of the deaths that were there. I was thinking it was just a worker that's angry that they died there.
Also possible,
But I like the idea of supervisor because the idea that they're up high looking down makes a lot of sense. Another distinct shadow figure is a figure that appears to be a Native American chief. There wasn't a ton of information on what they do, just that they're seen around the dam. And in my opinion, I think that this is the one that cursed the area.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Now, here's another theory I have. What if it's not the one that cursed the area? What if it's one of the chiefs that advocated for the signing of the treaty and now is cursed to roam the land?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, what if people didn't know, but included in that curse was all of the chiefs that signed?
Yeah.
That's a really good theory.
Or even if they're not cursed to walk the land, it could be feeling guilty.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So I think with the Native American shadow figure, it's really up for debate as to who it could be.
Well, I'm almost wondering, if it is the chief that put the curse on the land, right? It's possible that maybe this was the most cursed part. And so I don't know, but, if it is that particular chief, then maybe he's there just to keep it cursed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's like, I will stay here even in my death and maintain this curse.
Yeah.
You guys will pay for this. That's true. It could be. These aren't the only apparitions or shadow figures that are seen, because apparitions have also been caught on night vision and thermal cameras.
Night vision's really cool. I mean, of course, I love thermal cameras. But night vision, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that these full body apparitions are being caught on images, because we know there were a lot of deaths here, but I wouldn't think that this would be somewhere that people would necessarily haunt.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but clearly there's a lot of activity here. So do you think that these are the apparitions of people that have died here?
I think so, because I agree with you. I don't know why anybody else would really be in there. I mean, sometimes we talk about how spirits might be attached to objects, right? There's not really a lot of objects in a dam. So I can't really imagine anyone getting pulled there because of that, right? And then other than traumatic events of people who were in the building and had a traumatic event happen to them, that's the only reason I could really see someone being there, because what other traumatic event would pull you to a dam randomly?
The only other thing I was thinking of, and not necessarily with trauma, but high emotionality, which we know can tie spirits, is if someone really loved the resort. Maybe it's a guest that has been going to the resort for a few years and they passed away and they really love it.
I forgot that it was a resort. That's a really nice thought. I kind of hope that that's at least one or two of the spirits.
I feel like it's so much negativity. It's and this dam leaked a ton and people died and now it's haunted. So I was like, how could we think of the potential to have positive there?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a worker who loved working there. I don't know. I don't think that's very likely, but I guess it's a possibility.
Yes.
There are also auditory hauntings here. Visitors report the sound of footsteps even when they're alone. The footsteps seem to be off in the distance and echo through the building.
I don't know if I would prefer them to be closer to me or further away. I don't know.
I think closer, or I think further away. Closer, I think, would scare me.
That's fair. I'm just I'm thinking if they were closer, right? At least you could say, okay, no one's around me. But further out, I would almost, my brain wouldn't even go to paranormal first. I would be like, hello, a murderer is coming down the dam to kill me.
And that's a good point. I think if the dam was open to the public, that would be much more likely. But the fact that it's managed by a company,
yeah,
I think you would definitely know who's in there.
You're right. I keep forgetting that it's a resort.
Yeah. It's kind of a strange place for the dam to end up. Not that the dam ended up there, but rather the resort ended up by the dam.
Right.
But it's a strange repurposing, I'll say.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to hear the echoes themselves, because it's a huge building. So it's very possible that sound is echoing, especially because there is still actively water in the building and sound travels so well over water. It makes me wonder if it could be your own footsteps echoing throughout the building.
Oh, yeah.
I also wonder if the footsteps are associated with the walking on the catwalk of the apparitions, because that would be of interest to me.
And that would make sense, because I remember you saying that you can't see the catwalk from certain parts of the building, right? So if you're hearing these footsteps from above, you might not think they're above because you can't see anything. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Apparently, if you do hear the footsteps and they sound like they're right next to you, which does happen, if you look at the ground, you can allegedly see dust fly up matching the sound of the footsteps, as if someone or something is truly stepping next to you.
See, that would be so cool, but just because I'm picturing it, if I was there, it would take everything in me not to move. And that's the thing, right? Is like, if you see something like this, you got to be like, okay, don't move, move, don't run, because then you're going to mess it up. But
Right.
it's like instinct to get out of there.
Yeah, I just think that's such a concrete evidence of the paranormal. It would be amazing to see. But I think even if it wasn't fear, if I saw that, I would sidestep or jump to the side.
Oh, yeah.
Just naturally to get out of the way almost.
Yeah, because the other thing is, like if you didn't know this, right? If you weren't aware of the paranormal hauntings at this location, then you could also think it was like a mouse.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. But then you'd see the mouse.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I was trying to think of other possible explanations for this dust cloud. And all I could think of is potential puffs of air.
Yeah.
Because I know that there are broken windows, it's really open, etc. But I don't think it would be as distinct as looking like a footprint and corresponding with the footstep sound.
Well, right. And so, okay, so me saying it was a mouse, I was corroborating you saying you would sidestep. Like I'm thinking, even if you don't see the mouse at first, if you didn't know about these hauntings, you might be like, oh my gosh, a mouse, or like, oh my gosh, an animal, and like get out of the way. But I agree with you. I don't think that there's like a logical explanation that I can find in my head to explain this.
Right. And that's not the only auditory haunting. There are also disembodied voices. Specifically, and this one is sad, the cries of children are heard echoing through the building.
That is really sad.
I assume that must be tied to the unfortunate tunnel incident.
Yeah.
But strangely, the sound of children chanting is also heard. And this makes me wonder if there was any local legends associated with this dam or the tunnels. If it was like, go to the tunnel or the dam and say something, like kind of like a Bloody Mary or light as a feather, stiff as a board type thing.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of another reason for chanting to be there.
I was thinking about it in terms of like the children that are crying, right? That we assume are sort of part of the children who have passed there. Might be the same as the children who are chanting. And so maybe like this is where they are in their afterlife, but they're together. And so maybe like that was like a ritual they did on the way to school.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're like holding hands, singing a song. I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously the difference in emotion could just be like different times. Like at one point they might be confused or scared or reliving that moment. And then another, they might just like not realize that they've passed.
That's a great point. And I do wonder if the chanting could be captured and recorded, if it could be distilled down what they're actively saying.
Yeah, that's important.
There are other voices that are common in the tunnels and in the dam, and some have actually been captured as EVPs. There's a strong sense of cold that is said to accompany the disembodied voices, and I'm always skeptical about this whenever we talk about historical places. I'm going to say I'm doubly skeptical because we have an old tunnel here, and we have a poorly insulated building with many openings to the outside. It's not been reinforced for insulation or anything. With the tunnels, who knows what is lurking in the tunnels? It could be creatures, it could be bats flying around. I think there's a lot of potential for these cold clouds to be caused by something that is natural, not supernatural.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm wondering if there's a pattern to them too that you could track. Like, like it happens like early in the morning and sort of at dusk. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
and I think saying it accompanies the EVPs, well, if the EVPs are always happening, then it's not really that the cold is linked to the EVPs. Rather, the cold is occurring while the EVPs are occurring.
EVPs you listen to afterwards, right?
Some people will listen during their investigation. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I guess they're time stamping it, but people must be really keeping track if they're listening to it after, like when they're feeling the cold spots. Because that was my other question, was how do people know if they're listening to the EVPs after that they felt a cold spot during the EVP?
Well, because even when we have investigations where you felt cold, you verbalize.
That's true. That's true.
So I think just maybe matching it.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying is important. Is it at dusk when it's getting colder out? What time is this happening? Because a lot of times the paranormal investigations of locations tend to happen at night just because of availability of the buildings and such. So if it's cold at night, that is just the truth of being in this building.
The environment.
Yeah. The hauntings don't stop there. Some people actually report being grabbed or seeing hands trying to grab them.
That's more terrifying than the footprints.
Yes. Visitors report feeling as if someone is touching them, or even that their shirt sleeves are being pulled. People also report as if their hair is being pulled or even played with. And some of this touch is actually attributed to a strange haunting involving a whirlpool. Now, the whirlpool has an explanation. It's created from turbines that spin naturally from the flow of the river.
Okay.
Because this was a dam that was generating hydroelectric power. However, the haunting comes with the whirlpool allegedly having phantom hands appear and reach up to grab people.
From the whirlpool?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I did ask that question in the beginning of this episode, didn't I?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
The whirlpool is said to be accompanied by mist, and some assume that the mist that accompanies it is paranormal. I think that that could just be water particulates from it spinning. But let's talk about all of these hauntings. So being touched, hair pulled, etc. What do you think about that interaction?
There are times where you might be doing an investigation and you feel kind of like a spider, like a cobweb, I think. That can be really hard to spot sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like you might even just think that's your clothes. If I felt my sleeves being tugged on, that's a really intense thing. Like I don't think that anybody's going to miss that.
Right. I think it really depends on where you are, because I agree. If you're standing in the middle of an open room and you feel your hair being pulled or your sleeve being pulled, then you're definitely going to notice that something is wrong or abnormal. But if you're walking through a tunnel or maybe you're walking up a tight staircase, you might feel your hair being pulled and think, oh, it got caught on something, or, oh, I just caught my sleeve.
Yeah.
You might not register it as much. So I think the significance of this definitely depends on where within the building it's happening.
That's very true. I think the thing that freaks me out, though, the most that you mentioned was the hair being played with.
Yeah, I really do wonder why that's happening. Maybe it's the children.
Hopefully.
Yeah, because I don't know that the workers are wanting to do that.
Right, yeah.
But it could just be a way to get attention or even human connection.
Yeah, that's true.
I do think the whirlpool haunting is so interesting. The idea of seeing hands reaching up when you're looking at this whirlpool sounds absolutely terrifying. But they also can't really get you because they're so separated from where you can walk.
Yeah. So here's my thinking. What if the hands are not reaching out to get you? What if it's like a worker trying to get up?
I thought that too. What if it's for help?
Yeah. Like what if they're drowning?
Yeah, that just makes it sad.
It does make it sad, yes.
But that's probably likely. I think a lot of times it's easy to talk about hauntings and default to, ooh, it's spooky and it's malicious.
Yeah.
When it could just be someone going about their life or end of life.
Right.
I think especially because it's multiple hands reaching up, that it could be drowning victims.
Which is very sad. I mean, we talked about the hundreds of people who have died in this building. So it would make sense to me that some of them are replaying their deaths.
Yeah. The locals here really lean into the hauntings, and the dam is actually used as a haunted attraction called Hales Bar Dam during the Halloween season.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they do it, from September, October. So they ended their 2024 season. I'm hoping they're going to be open again for 2025. And you can also conduct paranormal tours here. It's even been featured on a variety of popular TV shows like Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters. So you can, even if you can't tour it as a historical site, if you're able to get there at Halloween, you can go through the haunted attraction. Or if you are in the area and you go to the resort, of course, you can see the building. If you have gotten the chance to visit the Hales Bar Marina and Dam, we would love to hear from you. You can email us at theteam@hauntedus.com and include Haunted Atlas episode 18 in the subject, or you can find us on social media at Haunted US and send us your stories there. Tune in to our next episode to see where we drop the pin on our adventure across the Haunted US. This episode of Haunted Atlas was presented by Sarah Sweeney and Erica Barrett. It was researched by Sarah Sweeney, supported by research from Haunted US head writer Mitch Goth, with production assistance by David Sweeney and music by Colleen Johnson. Our executive producer is Brandon Rugsey. Haunted Atlas is a production of Haunted US. Visit hauntedus.com for more information.